こんにちは、土方です。アクシス株式会社の YouTube チャンネルへようこそ。実はですね、今回、この YouTube チャンネルでは1本目の動画なんですよね。記念すべき。でですね、今回の動画なんですけど、イギリスの新進気鋭のスピーカーブランドですね、ファインオーディオをフィーチャーしていきたいと思います。こちらはですね、2017年に創業したスピーカーブランド、もう新進気鋭のブランドなんですけど、実は創業者ですね、ドクター・ポール・ミルズ氏をはじめとするメンバー5人が全員元丹野の出身なんですね。そういう意味で大変このメーカーが日本に来た時に驚かれましたけど、ファインというですね、名称はスコットランドのね、美しい湖があるんですけど、そこのファイン湖から命名されてます。で、今回の動画なんですけど、実は2本立てでお伝えしたいと思います。で、1本目、この動画がそうなんですけど、そこはファインオーディオの、ラインナップとか、ここのメーカー技術的な特徴が大変多いんですけど、そこの特徴ですね。で、歴史で将来どうなっていくのかっていう、オーバーオールでお伝えしたいと思います。そして、2本目なんですけど、こちらはですね、先だって発売されて、大変オーディオ界を賑わしてくれた2本のシリーズ、ファインヴィンテージシリーズとヴィンテージクラシックシリーズという、この2本のスピーカーをフィーチャーしたいと思います。でですね、実はですね、ここ、今、録画してるのは、アクシスのショールームなんですけど、大変素敵なゲストですね、に来ていただきました。こちらですね、マネージングディレクターのアンジー・ソスナさんをお迎えしたいと思います。じゃあ、どうぞ。Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. こんにちは。
こんにちは。さっき、もうね、嬉しいですよね。来てくれました。じゃあ、ここからはですね、僕がアンジーさんに質問する形で、話を進めていきたいと思います。まず質問なんですけど、まずはアンジーさんの社内での役職や仕事の、どういう仕事をされているかを皆さんに教えていただけますか？
So, I'm the managing director of Fine Audio. I'm being managing director. I have many duties, high-level duties. I have responsibility for everything. So, but fortunately, my background is a technical background. So I can help with speakers. I can help with logistics. I can help with manufacturing. I can help with sales. So I have many different responsibilities. But overall, my responsibility is the success and continued success of the company.
Thank you.
Okay.
はい。じゃあ、それでは次の質問です。まず、ファインオーディオの設立の経緯について教えていただきたいんです。で、私が驚いたのは、設立したメンバーの多くが、もともと丹野にいたというところ、そのあたりも含めて経緯を教えていただけますか？
We're quite a young company. I'm not young, you can tell from my hair. But we are 6 years old as a company. But we have been in the industry much longer than 6 years. And many of the team have worked for different companies, different brands. But the one common denominator is we all worked for Tannoy. 2015, Tannoy was part of another company called TC Group. And TC Group was bought by a company based in the Philippines called Music Group, now called Music Trout. And very soon after the purchase took place, the Music Group decided to close down the factory in Scotland where Tannoy is based. So as a result of that, I personally had to leave the company only after 3 months. Yeah, I wasn't so happy about closing the company in Scotland. And so I think I had to leave. So that was the reason I left. I left and joined another company. And I thought that was going to be the end of my connection with the audio, certainly with Tannoy at that time. But after about 1 year, big announcements happened that the company was definitely closing down in Scotland. And the team, the whole management team that used to work for me, all contacted me and said, listen, maybe there's an opportunity here. And the opportunity was because many of the customers were very worried what's happening with Tannoy. Maybe you guys should all think about, continuing the legacy of Tannoy. So we began thinking and talking and eventually decided this was a good idea. And so there's an American expression, you can make lemonade out of lemons. And this is kind of an opportunity that we decided to grab and say, yes, we can do this. We had all of the skills because we'd done it anyway. It was the same team. So I was going to be the managing director. We had the same sales team, the same marketing team, the same manufacturing team, the same product design team, all coming together under the FYNE Audio company name.
すごいドラマチックですよね。なんかこういう歴史があってね、でもスタートとしては本当に、ね、すごいドラマチックなスタートだったと思います。それでは、現在今2023年になりましたけど、FYNEオーディオはどのように世界的には評価されているのでしょうか？
Well, it's a very good question. So we knew it was a journey, and we knew it was going to be a long journey to really become part of the establishment, part of the known brands. But things happened actually very quickly for us. In 2018, so we started 2017. After 1 year, 2018, we won an award with What Hi-Fi in the UK, one of the biggest UK-based magazines, for the best speaker of the year, the F501, four-standing speaker. That was a big thing for us, and so that established us already as a credible brand. Someone like What Hi-Fi was able to say, we were good, not just good, the best. So that was a very good thing for us, and very quickly, a lot of our we had distribution in quite a few countries by then, and we were starting to get a lot of good magazine reviews and reports, and quite quickly we started to sell quite a lot of product. And it's taken, we're now 6 years old, but really 5 years of actual trading, and we're already in over 50 countries globally around the world. And if I showed you the front cover of What Hi-Fi this month, we're on the front cover alongside B&W, Bowers & Wilkins, and so we're now established alongside the known brands, and so I think we can say we've reached the top table of good brands. But there are some markets that are very important to us. Japan is one of those markets, and a few of the other countries close by in Hong Kong, China. Hong Kong and China is really, we think, of one market, South Korea. These markets are sort of very important to us, and it was a very important thing for us in 2019 to get the Stereo Sound Award for our F112 loudspeaker, our flagship loudspeaker. That was also very important. We think that also established the brand in a good position. Yeah.
とても嬉しいですよね。FR12 ですよね。そうすると、アワードステレオサウンドね。そうですか。で、一つ私が、特徴的だなと思ったのは、FYNEオーディオは現在、7シリーズものすでにラインナップを掲げています。で、なぜですね、この短期間でこの7シリーズものラインナップを抱えることができたのでしょうか？
We're very fast.
Oh.
No, we are fast. But what happened? For the first year of our life, in 2017 we started. We showed one product at the Munich. It was our F110 at the Munich show in May of that year. One pair, prototypes. And we had some prototypes of one of the F300 and F500 range. But really in the first year, we didn't do anything. We didn't manufacture much. We spent all of our time trying to find investment money and designing products. So really we had a whole year designing products. And we had the team, my team, was apart from myself, with two other engineers who are designers, and our sales director, who's really a product guy anyway. So really four, almost five, very experienced product people, all working on product. So we had a lot of people focused on product development, and we weren't doing much else. So that allowed us to develop the 300, 500, the F1 range, and start the 700, which was the next range, all really in the first year.
では、じゃあ、next question.
Okay.
先にそれぞれのシリーズ、今言ってた7シリーズの中で、まあ、特に紹介したいシリーズとか、その特徴とかがあれば教えてください。
7 series sounds like a lot, and it is quite a lot, but if we compare ourselves with other competitors, then it's not so many, really. But what we decided early on, we're a new brand, we wanted to appeal to as many customers as we could. So we felt we had to have a budget range, a mid-range, and a high range. So we had to be able to cover a lot of different price points in the market. We could have just come out with a high end, just high end, but we felt that would be difficult, and there's less customers. So we wanted to have a wide appeal, because we know that the people who buy budget speakers in 2017 might buy a mid-range speaker in 2020 and might buy a high-end speaker in 2023. So we want to get people into the brand. So that's the reason we had the wide range to start with. So the thing is, whichever range we talk about, we always want to be a best-in-class range. A bit like, BMW cars. They have a 3 series, a 5 series, a 7 series, but they're all good, right? And ours are the same. Our 300 range, budget range, it's a very good range of products for the price. I have them myself in my own home, the 300s, just in my study. They're lovely products, but meant for a purpose, meant for a price point, but still best in class. Our customer, we're trying to appeal to a passionate customer who loves audio. So not all audiophiles. Some will be audiophiles, but they all love music, and they also like the look of a product. So there's two things. They need to be love music and also like a good-looking product. That's the kind of customer. Obviously, the 3 series product is customers who are at a lower budget. Often it's younger people, not always, but often it's about the budget. And then the 5 series product, the F500, is more. That's a step into audiophile, and it's a start of our point source driver technology, which I'll talk about later. That's the entry point to our point source driver technology. And then we move up from there. This improves in quality every step. It's in quality, and it's a bit more expensive each time. So the 700 series moves up again. All point source drivers, isoflare drivers. But in the 700 series, we've moved now to birch ply cabinets. So the thing about the 700 series over the 500 series is a much better cabinet. It's a wooden cabinet, it's birch ply, it's got a beautiful piano finish, and it's curved. And the whole design of the cabinet makes it perform better acoustically. We've also improved the drive units in the 700 series from the 500 series. There's a series in between the 700 and the 500 called the 500 SP. And the 500 SP was developed after the 500. But what the 500 SP is it takes some of the 700 series technology and brings it into the 500 style. But the 500 SP is also a birch ply cabinet, so it's a better cabinet, better finished cabinet. Then moving up to the F1 series, that's our flagship series. That's the first series. That's why it's called F1. It's the first series we produced. It's a really complex, acoustically fantastically designed cabinet. The shape, the construction of that cabinet is very solid, very good for acoustics. Beautiful walnut veneer finish, and It's got our walnut inlays. It's a lovely, lovely finished cabinet. It's also got our highest technology drive units in. We started with the 10-inch, and then we introduced the 12-inch. And then after, we brought in two bookshelves, an 8-inch and a 5-inch version, all in a similar style. And they've all got, again, the point source drive unit, the fine flute surround, and the down-firing bass tracks in the system. And each one of those is more expensive and a step up in performance. It's another step in performance every time you go higher in the range.
じゃあ続いての質問です。ファインオーディオというと、やっぱり基幹となる3つの技術があると思います。アイソフレア、ベーストラックス、で、ファインフルートという技術があって、私が一番これ素晴らしいなと思ったのは、この3つの技術の求めている音のアナウンスされていた部分が実際のスピーカーの出音から本当にそれが伝わってくることなんですよ。だから僕この3つの技術、スピーカーメーカーってやっぱりいろんな技術、独自技術を持っててそれを売りにしてるんですけど、この実際に音にかなり実際に聞いてくる。聞いてて、あ、ここはこういう良さがあるなっていうのがすぐわかるところが素晴らしいんですけど、この3つの技術について教えていただいてもよろしいでしょうか。
So now we're talking the real meat, the real important things about the company and the technology. So our isoflare drive unit, point source driver, it's a key to Fine Audio's success, and it's the core technology of the company. The point source driver gives really significant advantages over a standard drive unit. And the main reason is point source driver, like me, I've got two legs, I've got two arms and 2 ears and 2 eyes. I've only got one mouth. So all the sound is coming from one place when I speak. If I had 3 or 4 mouths, the sound coming from me would be confusing, right? But I've only got one mouth. Yeah. So that's the principle of a point source drive unit. All the sound is coming from one point. Now, the important thing about that is not so much on axis, because on axis, many speakers can sound fine and really good, but the point source driver works off axis. And the reason for that is the way the point source driver works. It's called a constant directivity, but what happens off axis is a very gradual and controlled change to the high frequency, and the phase alignment stays the same. So it means if you've got stereo speakers, the two drivers working together, you can go off axis and still have a very good sound. And that gives you a wide sweet spot in the middle. So it gives you a very good soundstage. We have the point source technology is a DNA we have in our company, in our system, because we've been designing point source drivers for many years. And Dr. Paul Mills, who's our chief acoustic guru expert, he's been designing point source drivers for 30 years, so he has a lot of experience. So we were able to take the basic concept of a point source drive unit and improve every element of that. There's always things you can do to improve. So Dr. Paul, in our drivers, our isoflare drivers, has improved all the elements, the cone, the magnet system in particular, the way the waveguide works. All the elements have been improved from any previous point source driver that we made. The big thing, one final thing about isoflare, or the point source driver, on the larger drive units, 10-inch and above, we use a 3-inch high compression driver behind the low frequency driver. The 3-inch driver allows us to reduce the crossover point, drop it down to 700 hertz. So that's well out of the normal voice band. Usually you're crossing over about 2 kilohertz or 1.8, but this crossover is down at 700 hertz. And that means that the low frequency section has less to do, less work to do. And the HF goes from 700 right through to the 26 kilohertz top end. So it's a much smoother transition through the voice band. And the low frequency, the left hand of the piano part, the low frequency driver is doing much less. So we can do it more accurately.
そういうかな。実際に音を聞いてると不自然さがないと思ったんですよ。で、その部分がそのクロスポイントにあるっていうのが今言われてすごいよくわかりました。
So the fine flute technology. So the fine flute surround, which the isoflare driver also has. That was developed because when the LS section is moving, it generates a lot of frequencies in the LS section, and these frequencies go from the front to the surround. And when they hit the surround, the edge part, you want the frequencies to stop. You don't want them reflecting back down into the cone again, because if they reflect back down to the cone, then they can add distortion, especially in the mid-band, mid-area. So the whole idea of the fine flute surround system is to absorb energy when it hits it. So I'll mention bass tracks technology as well. But just as going back to one of the earlier questions, when we thought about designing new products back at the beginning, we also thought about what can we do that's different, how can we improve it, and we spent a lot of time brainstorming these ideas. And so the fine flute and the bass tracks in particular came out of how can we do something different, because the point source driver, apart from the 3-inch tweeter element, we could just tweak. We could tweak that. But on the fine flute and with bass tracks, it was new. It was something really new that we could do. When we started, we wanted to see what, although we were designing new loudspeakers, we also wanted to see what we could bring unique to the market, something completely new, not just the loudspeaker, but technology-wise. So on the isoflare unit, we knew we could improve the isoflare driver. We knew we could improve a point source driver, and we knew how to do that quite quickly. But the fine flute, that was a new idea. That was a genuinely new idea, and the bass tracks was a genuinely new idea. These are new ideas that we had during our initial brainstorming of how we can do something new and different.
僕が本当にファインオーディオのスピーカー共通して感じる大きなアドバンテージとして、ファインオーディオのスピーカーに低域の再生能力が非常に素晴らしいんですよ。しっかりローレンジまで伸ばしながらも鈍重にならない、キレがいいリアルな低域が本当に各スピーカーからは聞こえてくるんですね。だからその部分をすごい高く評価してますが、ちょっとそのベーストラックスについて教えていただけますか。
This was a Dr. Paul Mills idea. What he wanted to do was to be able to control the exit of the air with the bass, even after it's left the loudspeaker. And that's what the bass tracks does. A normal porting system, when the air just ports out of the back, it just kind of happens. It just gets thrown out the back randomly. Whereas the bass track system actually controls the air and uses the profile. There's two things happening together. There's a twin cavity system inside the speaker. So that baffles quite a lot of the frequencies and controls. And then when it gets to the exit, it hits our bass tracks diffuser system. And it comes out in a controlled way, 360 degrees around the bottom of the speaker. So what it is we're controlling the sound as it exits the speaker. Now, two things that we discovered that happened there. One was it became easier to place the speaker in the room. It was less sensitive to the wall, the boundaries of the room. But the second thing is, it really made the bass tight, controlled the bass. And one of the criticisms in previous designs that we've done was the bass wasn't as tight as it could be. But with the bass track system, the bass is tightened, really tight. The timing is absolutely fantastic on the bass. And as well as the bass extension, but the timing is absolutely spot on.
ありがとうございます。Very, very nice answer. Thank you. じゃあ、next question.
Can I say one more thing about bass tracks just before we move on?
It's done.
Sorry?
It's already done.
It's done.
It's done. So we have many more questions. So.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
はい。じゃあ、それでは、ファインオーディオの製品の開発体制を教えていただけますか。
We're very close to our market. We like talking to our customers and getting information. That's why I'm here this week, actually, in Japan. Anyways, getting feedback. So the most important thing is understanding what the customer really wants. That's the first point. But we've always used a thing called the stage gate system from Cooper as there's a product development process, those could be stage gate systems. So we've always used that system to develop the product. It goes from a specification through to getting a prototype working, through to getting into mass production and getting it ready. So it's a process for all of that. So we follow a standard process. Defining the initial idea is always the hardest part. So we usually come up with ideas, and then we'll go and show them to people, trusted people. I might show Toshio one tomorrow, actually. Anyway, we have ideas, but we need to get feedback if it's a good idea. But once we're okay with the idea, we have the standard process. But I guess the most important thing to you is the sound. How do we develop the sound? Now, Dr. Paul is an expert, so he has very good ears already. So he develops the product, and he always has the same character. He wants the same kind of sound character. So he develops to a certain point. And then he invites us in. I'm part of the listening panel to listen, and we listen to the product. We listen to it with different amplifiers, different source material, and we listen in different places, different rooms, to get an idea of the sound. And then we go through sometimes 4, 5, 6 changes, iterations, maybe more, until we're all happy with the sound. So that gets us to a product. It can take 6 months, it can take a year, not usually much longer than a year from start to finish. And the longest part of the process usually is getting the prototypes made, because it needs to be a proper cabinet. For voicing, it needs to be a proper cabinet in all the correct materials so we can finish it. So that can take some time. Paul also uses computer modeling as well. You can model some parts of the driver, you can model the crossover on computer. And we do all that initially as well. But the really important stuff is the end part where we're actually physically designing and changing. And the interesting thing is, always to me, at the end of a process, you just know when it's right. You've done a lot of work, you know that you just know one day that the sound is the way you want it. And sometimes, when you're measuring things on a computer, you can't get that. It can look right on a computer, everything can look flat, and then when you listen to it, it doesn't sound. You don't feel anything. It doesn't sound. But comes a point where you suddenly feel it. You got it. This is it. It's really good, and that's the point where we stop.
いや、素晴らしいですね。言ってると欲しくなっちゃうんですね、今。じゃあ、ネクストクエスチョン。先。ファインオーディオが狙っている音質とか音調というものがあると思いますが、そちらについて教えてください。ポリシーを聞きたいです。
Yeah, it's a really good question. And what we're trying to be is natural. The sound, the best word is a natural sound. For us, the loudspeaker should just reflect the sound of nature, the original sound character. So we don't want to add anything. We don't want to add sauce, any magic. We just want it to sound like it sounds in nature. So it needs to be as clear as possible, and we're always looking for a high dynamic range, lots of dynamic in the sound, so a big that's natural as well. But so lots of dynamic range, natural sound. Usually when we voice a speaker, we voice it slightly forward, just a little bit. We don't like it the sound to be too recessed. We like it to be a little bit forward, so we voice it in that way. And as wide a soundstage as we can create with the speakers, so a big wide soundstage. Now some of our speakers, they don't all sound the same. Our speakers, the F1 range is probably the cleanest sound that we have. It's a flagship range. It's a very clean sound. It's very natural as well. But the new vintage range that we've just launched, because of the cabinet and the way the cabinet's been shaped, it adds a certain sort of warmth to the sound, slight warmth to the sound. The F1 range, and people, you either like that or you don't like it, but so it's a combination, so slight warmth to the sound. But it's still the same character, natural, wide dynamic range, lots of extended bass, and a big wide soundstage. There's one thing I would say about the sound as well, and it sounds hard to describe, right? But there's a physical sensation if you have a really good sound. I call it goosebump sound, where you feel the hairs on the back of your neck, you feel a tingle in your body, the sound, the sound is connecting with you. That's also something we try and achieve, so people can really connect with the music. Something in the music affects them physically. I don't know how to describe that properly, but I know what I mean. It's a sensation you get, and that's what we're trying to achieve as well. So we want to bring joy to people. Joy.
嬉しいですね。なんかすごい、もう本当に気持ちが伝わってきますね。素晴らしいと思う。Next question? Okay. と、製品開発時の苦労とか、それと、あとはユーザーが喜びそうなトピックがあれば教えていただきたいです。
Well, early days, in the early times when we were developing product, we didn't really have a factory, not the way we do now. And so the early products were all developed in Dr. Paul's bedroom, or his spare bedroom in his house. So his house was full of prototype boxes and bits of electronics, and his wife wasn't so happy about all the things in the house. But it was successful nevertheless, so that was quite interesting, an interesting time for us. So when we developed the F1, the first ever F110, this was before even the 2017 Munich show, we were just, we only had our initial investment. We didn't have so much money. I don't know if we have much money now, by the way, but we didn't have so much money. But we needed to get a sample. We needed to work out. We wouldn't have time for prototypes. So we actually made ourselves a cardboard and plywood model of the F110. Just so we could be sure the dimensions were right. Because it's one thing looking on a drawing, it's another thing seeing something physically. But we didn't have time or money to make a prototype. So we made this cardboard and plywood model, which we still have. If you come and visit us, you can see it. It's in our factory. So we're going to keep it as a memento. So yeah, our first ever sample was a piece of paper and plywood with a driver drone on it. There wasn't even a driver in it.
あれですね、それ大切に取っといた方がいいです。
So you better keep that,
会社がもっと多分この後有名になってすごい価値が出てくる。
You get our museum.
So yes, yes.
Actually, the first pair of F110 we ever made, the ones we showed in Munich, we still have those as well. And we showed them at the Bristol show just last month. We put the new driver in the replacement plinth, but the cabinet, we still have the original cabinet. It's done millions of air miles. So.
それでは今後ファインオーディオはどのようなモデルをですね投入する予定がありますでしょうか。なかなかこれって言いづらいところだと思うんですけど、教えていただける範囲でいいので教えてください。
Yeah, not an easy question to answer. Yeah, we have things planned. I asked this question to Dr. Paul, and he said, "Just say it's a secret." We do have things planned. The latest range I know we're going to talk vintage and classic on another video, but there are a few models we might add in that range, and a few little additional things. I can't really say what they might be. But the focus is whatever we do is still going to be on making the high quality passive loudspeakers and continuing to develop what we have, the technologies that we have. But there are a couple of really exciting things, but I can't really tell you what they are. I'd love to tell you. I'd love to tell everyone what they are, but I can't really tell you. But whatever it is, you'll be one of the first to know. And
ありがとうございます。どのような日本のね、オーディオファンに、どのような方にファインオーディオのスピーカーを使ってほしいですか？
We know the users of our speakers are going to be music lovers already. They wouldn't be interested if they weren't music lovers. And we know that some will be audiophiles as well. They don't all have to be audiophiles, but they all have to love music, I think. So, you know, we know that the audience is male, a lot of male-dominated audience. We'd like to appeal more to women, if we can. And so that's why we design our speakers not just to sound good, but to look like lovely pieces of furniture, so that they look right in the home. So we know that some people, maybe not audiophile, like music, but they also need to like the look of the product as well. But you know, we don't mind if it's young, if it's old, if it's male, if it's female, black, white. We don't care in terms of we want everyone to enjoy, who enjoys music, to be liking our speakers. One final thing, I know you've got a lot to say here, but in terms of the music character, when we voice the speakers, we voice them so they can play any kind of music. You know, they're good on rock, they're good on classical, they're good on jazz, good on blues, good on vocal. We don't discriminate. Don't make it good for classical music. It has to be good for everything. When we test it, we test with all kinds of music. So any kind of music lover will enjoy our speakers.
Thank you. Very nice. いかがでしたでしょうか？今回ね、アンジーさんをお迎えして、ファインオーディオの設立のね、経緯とか、各モデルの解説で、主要な3技術もですね、かなり詳しく教えていただいたと思います。で、初めてね、教えて僕も知った技術なんかもあって、もう大変本当に魅力的なスピーカーだっていうことが改めて皆様にも伝われば大変嬉しく思いますし、やっぱり本当にね、心意気をこちらのね、スピーカーメーカーって感じるんですよ。でも、ね、実は今回動画2本撮ってます。これからもう1本撮りますが、そちらはですね、今度新しく発売されて大変好評の、ファインヴィンテージシリーズ、あとヴィンテージクラシックシリーズというですね、2本のスピーカーに焦点当てて、またアンジーさんにいろいろ解説してもらいたいと思います。まずはですね、動画1本目ありがとうございます。アンジーさんどうもありがとう。Thank you very much.
You're welcome.